Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
The summer replacement show for Suspense, Somebody Knows, for the summer of 1950. This is the first episode that aired on July 6, 1950, 72 years ago, and this is the unsolved murder of Gladys Kern. And we thank you for tuning in. On this Wednesday, this is the 6th day of July, 187th day of the year. We have 178 days remaining till we get to 2023. Sir Thomas More beheaded in 1535 after refusing to join Henry VIII's Church of England. Louis Pasteur successfully treated a patient with a rabies vaccine in 1885. Anne Frank and her family sought refuge from the Nazis in Amsterdam. In 1944, a fire caused by inept fire eaters in the main tent of the Ringling Brothers Circus in Hartford, Connecticut, killed over 160 people. In 1957, Althea Gibson won the Wimbledon women's singles tennis title, the first black person to win the event. It was also on this date in 1957 that John Lennon and Paul McCartney of the Beatles met for the first time at the Woolden Parish Church in Liverpool.
A mutual friend brought him to see my group called the Quarrymen. And we met and we talked after the show, and I saw he had talent, and he was playing guitar backstage and doing 20 Flight Rock by Eddie Cochran. And I turned around to him right then on first meeting and said, "Do you want to join the group?"
And the rest was history. The Mars rover Sojourner rolled onto the Martian surface in 1997, and in 2013, a Boeing 777 operating as Asiana Airlines Flight 214 crashed at San Francisco International Airport. 3 people were killed, 181 of the 307 on board were injured. Passing away on this date in history, novelist William Faulkner, Louis Armstrong, back in 1971. A heart attack took Van McCoy, the man who did The Hustle, back in 1979. Roy Rogers passing away. Buddy Ebsen, Jerry Weintraub, the film producer, and Charlie Daniels, the devil took him back from Georgia on this date in 2020. This is the birth date of John Paul Jones, actor Sebastian Cabot, also Nancy Reagan, Bill Haley of Bill Haley and the Comets, Merv Griffin, born on this date, Della Reese, Ned Beatty, and Pat Paulson.
The formal announcement is that I'm making my headquarters in Branson.
Oh, so you will be making your headquarters for this election run in Branson, Missouri?
Right. I'm going to let the people come to me.
So is that where you came up with this slogan, United We Sit?
No, actually, I got on the ballot already in New Hampshire, and I came in second out of 23 running as a Democrat against Clinton. In fact, I got 3 times as many votes as Lyndon LaRouche, so I'm on my way.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so you're heading for it here.
Yeah.
Now you're running as a Democrat this year, not.
Yeah,
I remember in the past you ran on the ticket of the Stag Party. Is that correct?
The first was that's the Straight Talking American Government Party.
Yes, of
funny
course.
when you take those letters out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, but we didn't intend that to be a joke.
Yeah.
From an interview I did with Pat Paulson back in 1996, Pat Paulson, born on this date in history, such a funny man. He passed, I think, about a year after that interview was done. Happy birthday number 77 to Robin Burt Ward.
Well, there was 378 Holies in Batman in the original series, and it worked out to be about 3 per half hour because there's 120 episodes, 380, so it was about 3 per half hour. This has got a lot of the Holies in there, and they're really intelligent Holies. They're not just tied into, like I remember there was a thing in a spaghetti factory in the original series, and I said, "Holy ravioli, Batman!" But these Holies are every bit direct to the situation, but they're richer, they're deeper, they're all of a sudden they're 2016. They're not past, they're current.
Holy, here we go again, Batman. Holy whiskers! Holy birthday cake! Holy headache! Holy ball and chain! Holy triple feature! Holy slip disc! Holy known unknown flying objects! Holy hamstrings! Holy mucilage! Holy rainbow!
Robin in the 1965 Batman series, Burt Ward, 77 today. Country music's Jeannie Seeley is 82. President George W. Bush, 76. Sylvester Stallone, also 76. Rapper 50 Cent is 47. Tia and Tamara Mowry, the twin actresses, 44 today. And Kevin Hart, 43. Those some of the people who celebrate the 6th day of July as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you!
And from 72 years ago, July 6, 1950, somebody knows and the unsolved murder of Gladys Kern. On this Wednesday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the very first episode of the summer replacement series for suspense in the 1950 summer. Somebody Knows, this episode from 72 years ago, July 6, 1950.
Suspense, which is heard on Thursday nights at this hour, is taking its customary summer holiday. Suspense returns to the air 8 weeks from now on Thursday, August 31st.
Ladies and gentlemen, a $5,000 reward will be offered each week on the program immediately following this announcement.
You out there, you who think you've committed the perfect crime, the perfect murder, that there are no clues, no witnesses, that your identity is unknown. Listen.
Somebody knows.
Yes, you, wherever you may be, no matter where you're hiding. Somewhere, sometime, someone listening to this program is going to bring you to justice. Yes.
Somebody knows.
The Columbia Broadcasting System presents Somebody Knows, a program conceived in the public interest, dedicated to aiding the forces of law and order in the solution of this nation's unsolved crimes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to recreate for you tonight all the known facts in an actual unsolved murder. Somewhere, someone among you has had contact with the killer or killers. Someone whose identity need never be known has seen evidence or possesses information that can lead to the solution of this crime.
In the public interest, the Columbia Broadcasting System offers a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the killer in this unsolved murder.
We ask you then to please listen carefully, for you may be the one to win this reward.
Somebody knows.
It may be you. And now we open the files on one of this nation's unsolved murders. It's homicide file number DR75-4613 of the Los Angeles, California Police Department. The unsolved murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern. It is St. Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th, 1948. The time is between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The place, the exclusive Los Feliz residential section in the hills high above the city of Los Angeles, California. A real estate agent is showing a prospective buyer through a vacant home at 4217 Cromwell Avenue.
Now, here's the dining room. As you can see, it's designed for good, homey, comfortable living, and yet large enough to accommodate a good-sized dinner party. And this way is the kitchen. Now, maybe as a man, you aren't interested in what makes a kitchen practical. But if you're like my husband, you're certainly interested in what comes out of it. So I'd just like to point out a few of... What's the matter? Why are you looking at me that knife? What are you doing with that knife? No, you can't. No!
On Sunday morning, February 15th, 1948, a red light winks on a switchboard in the Los Angeles Police Department.
Missing Persons Bureau.
Hello? Is this where you report a missing person?
That's right, sir.
Well, my name is Jack Kern. It's my mother. Well, ever since yesterday, we haven't any idea what happened to her.
I see. What's your mother's name, Mr. Kern?
Mrs. Gladys Kern.
Mrs. Gladys Kern.
Yes, sir.
And the address?
6200 Roy Street in Highland Park.
6200 Roy Street, Highland Park. Now, if you give me a detailed description of her, the department will be glad.
At about the same moment that Mrs. Gladys Kern is being reported missing, a sergeant enters an office in the homicide division.
Say, here's something you might be interested in, Lieutenant.
Oh? What is it, Sergeant?
A note, anonymous. It was picked up in a mailbox at 5th and Olive. Looks like it might be something for homicide.
Has the crime lab seen it?
Just got through with it. He said bring it down here.
All right, let's see what it says.
The note is written on a plain piece of paper folded over. On the outside, penciled in large, scrawling letters, are 3 words. Hurry to police. The body of the note, also printed in clumsy, penciled letters, is a literary phrase, badly spelled and unpunctuated.
It says, I made acquaintance of man 3 weeks ago. He said he wanted to buy a home for his family, but he was a racketeer.
No real estater would do business with him. He suggested I buy a home for him in my name, and then he would go with me to look at the property to make sure he liked it. They went into the house, and I waited outside. After a while, I went up to investigate. She was laying on the floor. I turned her over. I was covered with blood. I pulled a knife out of her, then I left and ran. I knew this man as Louis Fraser. He's about 5'10", has jet black curly hair, wears blue or tan gabardine suits. He told me he was a fighter, and he looks it. I won't rest till I find him, because I know that man is my only alibi, and without him
I feel equally guilty.
What do you think, Lieutenant? A crank?
I doubt it, Sergeant. I think this man has described an actual crime.
Monday morning, February 16th, 1948, Mr. Fred Lyon, a realtor with offices at 2144 Hillhurst Avenue, is showing homes to 2 women prospects, one of whom is Mrs. Verdi F. Cross, a trained nurse. One of the homes on his list is located at 4217 Cromwell Avenue in the Los Feliz Hills. At the moment, Mr. Lyon and the 2 women are looking over the grounds at the Cromwell Avenue address.
And as you can see, ladies, the property's been well kept up. The owner spared no pains to maintain his home in keeping with the section. Personally, I feel that at $25,000, the property's very sound value.
The 2 women and Mr. Lyon leave the grounds and enter the service porch. They walk slowly toward the kitchen door. Then, as they're about to enter the kitchen...
What is it? What's the matter, dear? There, on the kitchen floor. Look through that open door.
Good Lord.
Wait a minute. Stay here.
Mrs. Verdi F. Cross, the nurse, walks a few feet into the kitchen. She stands there a moment looking down, and then comes back to Mr. Lyon and the other woman.
You needn't go any further. That woman is dead.
A few minutes later, in the police communication division, a monitor on a police complaint switchboard plugs in to answer a call.
Los Angeles Police Department, Complaint Division. You're certain the woman's dead? All right, what's the address? 4217 Cromwell Avenue. And your name? Mr. Fred Lyon. Who's with you, Mr. Lyon? Very well, sir. Go back to the house. Don't touch anything. You and the 2 women...
As the monitor talks to Mr. Lyon over the telephone, he plugs in the Homicide Division switchboard on the same line. Simultaneously, he writes the pertinent information on a form rips it from its pad, and places it on an endless chain conveyor belt that carries it into the next room. The next room is the broadcasting room of KGPL, official radio station of police communications. The dispatcher takes the slip and hands it to one of the 7 broadcasters sitting fan-shaped around him. She looks it over quickly and presses a button on the microphone before her.
Code 2, a dead body at 4217 Cromwell Avenue. Code 2, a dead body at 4217 Cromwell Avenue. Cars 301 and 115 acknowledged.
Within a matter of minutes after the flash is given, Detective A.W. Hubka arrives on the scene. His official report, as given to the Homicide Division and later at the coroner's inquest, contains in part the following information.
In response to the Code 2 broadcast, I proceeded at once to the home at 4217 Cromwell Avenue. In the kitchen, I found the body of an attractively dressed woman lying face down on the floor. My examination satisfied me that she was dead. There was a deep wound in her back between the shoulder blades. Obviously, a knife wound. In the kitchen sink, I found a leather-handled hunting knife with a blade of about 6 inches in length. An attempt had been made to wash it clean, though some traces of bloodstains still remain. Also in the sink was a man's balled-up handkerchief, which bore stains that I presumed to be blood. Beside the body lay an open purse and a wallet. Within a short time, a detail arrived from Homicide Division.
Shortly after the discovery of the murder, information is correlated between the Missing Persons Bureau and the Homicide Division. A police car speeds to Highland Park and picks up Mr. John E. Kern, husband of Mrs. Gladys Kern, reported missing the day before. It takes him to 4217 Cromwell Avenue. A police officer leads the tense, anxious man toward the kitchen.
This way, please, Mr. Kern. Body is here in the kitchen.
Gladys. Dear God. It's my wife, Gladys. My wife. My wife.
In just a moment, we'll continue with file number DR75-4613 of the Los Angeles, California Police Department. The unsolved murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern.
CBS invites you to hear another adventure in the far corners of the world with yours truly, Johnny Dollar, later tonight. Starring Hollywood actor Edmund O'Brien, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, brings you the adventures of a top investigator for a large insurance company. Old hands who think they have a new twist and new hands who think they have a novel twist try to swindle Johnny Dollar's company, and Johnny has to keep one step ahead. For action, thrills, and adventure in the far places, listen to yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Edmund O'Brien, every Thursday on most of these same CBS stations.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue with the rest of the factual information concerning the unsolved murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern.
Remember, $5,000 reward will be paid for information leading to the arrest and conviction of her killer.
With the establishment of the identity of the body at 4217 Cromwell Avenue as that of Mrs. Gladys Kern, all the resources of the Los Angeles, California Police Department swing into action in an effort to apprehend her killer. Detective Captain Bert Jones' Hollywood Division is placed in charge of the investigation. The coroner's inquest is held at 1:30 p.m. Friday, February 21st, 1948. Deputy Coroner Edwin Lennox is presiding. The first witness to be called is Mr. John E. Kern, the dead woman's husband.
Now, Mr. Kern, we'll try to make this as brief as possible for you. Would you tell us, please, if you know of anyone who could possibly have any reason for doing harm to your wife? Will you talk into that hand microphone, please, so that we can all hear you? Go right ahead, please.
My wife had absolutely no enemies that I know of. There was no reason why anyone should want to kill her.
I see. When was the last time you saw her, Mr. Kern?
Last time I saw her alive was about 5:30 Saturday morning when I left for work.
Would you please tell us, in your own words, all that you can remember of your wife's activities on that day?
Well, Gladys was up before dawn to fix my breakfast. She always did.
I see.
She was a good wife.
Go on, please.
I left for work about 5:30, returned home about 4:30 that afternoon.
Was your wife at home then, Mr. Kern?
No, sir. But she'd left a note for me. It was to remind me that we were going to a wedding.
While waiting for his wife to return that night, Mr. Kern took a little nap. It was some time later that the doorbell rang.
Oh, the doorbell. It must be Gladys.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, Father.
Hello, kids. Come in.
We've come to take you to the wedding, Dad. Where's Mom?
Guess she's not home yet, Peggy.
Oh, that's too bad. We thought we'd all go together.
Well, you know how your mother is, Jack. She's got a client on the string.
I know. She's liable to come home at all hours.
Look, you two kids run along. I'll wait for her. We'll show up later.
Still sweethearts, eh, Dad? Can't move one step without the other. Well, I guess that's okay, this being St. Valentine's Day, but don't be late. This is going to be a night for the Kerns to howl. Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Kern, what did you do after your children left?
Well, I wasn't worried about Gladys, as I'd told the kids. She was very often kept late closing a deal, so I lay down again.
From 72 years ago, July 6, 1950, Somebody Knows here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Following these important words from your favorite station, the news from 72 years ago, and the conclusion of Somebody Knows.
Radio? Why should I advertise on radio? There's nothing to look at, no pictures.
Listen, you can do things on radio you couldn't possibly do on TV.
That'll be the day.
All right, watch this. Okay, people, and now when I give you the cue, I want the 700-foot mountain of whipped cream to roll into Lake Michigan, which has been drained and filled with hot chocolate. Then the Royal Canadian Air Force will fly overhead towing a 10-ton maraschino cherry, which will be dropped into the whipped cream to the cheering of 25,000 extras. All right, cue the mountain. Cue the Air Force. Cue the maraschino cherry. Okay, 25,000 cheering extras. Now, you want to try that on television?
Well...
You see, radio is a very special medium because it stretches the imagination.
Doesn't television stretch the imagination?
Up to 27 inches, yes.
She was born in a humble shack amidst the lemon groves of Goleta, California.
Mommy, don't cry. You know what they say? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I was gonna say life sucks, and then you die. But I like yours better.
And with that, Alexandra Johnson launched her lemonade stand.
Lemonade, nickel a glass.
Every day, even during the frigid California winters, a bone-chilling 72 degrees, you could find her.
You can have it sour, you can have it sweet. Little girl's lemonade will knock you off your feet.
The little girl with the sour brew wanted more, national distribution, franchises, and so she rolled out a well-budgeted advertising campaign.
Me and the rest of the dock workers only drink little girl lemonade.
She was made president of the International Sour Drink Association and chosen to give the keynote speech at their convention.
You all set with words of wisdom, honey? You know what they say, Mommy. Always advertise so consumers think of your product first. I was gonna say never swallow a lemon seed or a watermelon on your tummy.
This fabricated but interesting story is to remind you that it's called advertising and it works.
Put your message on this national advertising platform by emailing classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. This hour we're listening to the summer replacement for Suspense called Somebody Knows, as it aired at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Thursday, July 6, 1950. Now, the newspapers of that Thursday 72 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Here's the latest in the Korean conflict. 40 North Korean tanks overran American outposts south of Suwon. Americans withdraw to new positions which are believed threatened. A large part of South Korean army retreats before invaders drive. American reinforcements are rushing forward. Meanwhile, American and British carrier planes getting in first whacks as Air Force machine guns and bombs North Korean bridges, trains, railroad yards, trucks, airfields in an effort to slow down the armored push. MacArthur still building up powerful force in Korea. In Washington, Secretary of State Dean Acheson says the Moscow story that North Korea was attacked in the same category as Hitler's claim he was attacked by Poland in 1939. 7 airlines will aid the Defense Department in rushing troops to the Far East. Are the Chinese Reds going to rush to the aid of North Korean communists? Is Russia behind such a move? Or are the Reds massing to assault Formosa despite the protection of the U.S. 7th Fleet, as the Chinese nationalists fear? Stanley Rich from the Associated Press says these questions produced widespread speculation yesterday, both in Hong Kong and on the strategic nationalist island bastion of Formosa. In Hong Kong, Rich reports, a diplomat who refused to allow either his identity or his country to be named predicted the Reds would soon rush troops to help the North Koreans fight Americans. It would be part of a big new surprise the Soviet Union is cooking up for America in the Far East. Other diplomatic observers, all of whom demanded anonymity, predicted the blow will fall anytime within the next month and probably within 1 to 2 weeks. Federal Judge Thomas C. Trimble set a precedent in Arkansas yesterday by ordering the name of a Negro placed on the Democrat primary ballot as a candidate for city alderman in Little Rock. The county Democrat committee had denied the Reverend J.H. Gatlin a place on the ballot because Arkansas Democrat Party rules prohibit a Negro from being a nominee of the party. Judge Trimble held that Gatlin could not be refused a chance to win the nomination solely because he's not a white man. The judge found Gatlin qualified in all other respects. 47,000 Boy Scouts began packing yesterday at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, as the Jamboree closed. Gordon Taylor, 15, of Rock Springs, Texas, died of infantile paralysis. The boy was ill when he arrived at Valley Forge. Dr. Herman N. Sander greeted by a dozen patients yesterday as he opened his Manchester, New Hampshire office after his medical license was restored. Dr. Sander's office had been closed since his indictment in the mercy death of a patient. A New York jeweler testified yesterday he acted as the go-between in the sale of counterfeit money to buyers in Cuba. The witness, Rudolph Schmidt, testified in the federal court trial of 4 men charged with conspiracy to sell $3 million in counterfeit Federal Reserve banknotes to Cuban buyers. Earlier, Schmidt, the 53-year-old owner of the Del Valle Jewelry Company in New York City, pled guilty to buying $50,000 in bogus money and conspiracy. Special Assistant to the Attorney General Roy M. Cohen said the alleged operation was one of the most brazen schemes that has ever been put before a jury in this building. Cohen said they agreed to supply Schmidt and the Roaches with $50,000 in bogus money for $9,000 in genuine funds. In turn, they planned to sell the money to a Cuban ring for $12,000. Well, children with firecrackers started a blaze in a hollow tree in a pasture near Independence, Missouri. The town's firemen rolling out the hose when one of them, Cork Daniel, saw a bull coming over to get in the act. Daniel said he was big. Only a flimsy fence separated the animal and the new bright red fire truck. Chief Tom Pollard said, "Let's get out of here." The fire in the tree still burning early yesterday. And those some of the day's top news stories, as reported in the newspapers of Thursday, July 6, 1950, on your radio, somebody knows. The conclusion next on this Wednesday. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.
Hi, this is Kyle Horvath with the White Pine County Tourism and Recreation Board. If you want to get away from the big cities and get back to nature this summer, give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net. There's so much to do and see I can't mention it in 30 seconds, but check out our website and you'll see what Nevada is really all about. elinevada.net or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net.
The buy one, get one free special going on now at MyPillow. MyPillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance MyPillows, the roll and go anywhere MyPillows, and 6-piece towel sets on special. Go to mypillow.com/USA, use promo code USA, or call 1-800-951-8175 and find out all the great deals you can get right now at MyPillow. mypillow.com/USA. On Thursday's Classic Radio Theater, another summer series did justice triumph. From 75 years ago, July 7th, 1947, Poison for Profit, a gang operating out of a nightclub selling poison to people who want to get rid of their relatives. That's coming up on Thursday's Classic Radio Theater, but we wrap up this Wednesday edition going back 72 years, July 6th, 1950, Somebody Knows, and the unsolved murder of Gladys Kern.
It was Sunday morning before I woke up.
Mrs. Kern hadn't come home, of course.
No, sir. I was really scared then. I called the kids right away, and they hadn't heard from her either. Jack called the Missing Persons Bureau. We phoned everyone we could think of, and... well, then we just waited. Waited.
Meanwhile, the reports on preliminary investigation in the case are discouraging. Detective Captain Jones has only this information to offer.
The murder weapon, the leather-handled K-bar hunting knife, is the type widely sold in war surplus stores. A check has been made of each such store in the city without any concrete results. We are also urging the anonymous letter writer through the radio and press to turn himself in, work with the police. No response has been forthcoming to date.
Chemist Ray Pinker of the Police Crime Laboratory has this to report.
Mrs. Kern's purse of a black plastic material would hold no fingerprints unless applied by wet or blood-covered fingers. We found none. Nor were there any prints in the wallet or the murder weapon. The anonymous note had passed through too many hands to provide us with anything of value.
Then, finally, comes the first break in the case. A witness is found who saw Mrs. Kern on that fateful Saturday in the company of a strange man. The witness, Mrs. Mary Johnson, manager of a drugstore at North Vermont and Fountain Avenues.
Why, yes, officer. I saw Mrs. Kern on St. Valentine's Day. She came in here real often. Her real estate office is only a few doors away, at 13007 North Vermont. Well, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd say, that she came in. I was busy back here at the drug counter, so I didn't really pay much attention. But I did notice that there was a man with her. He was... What? Oh, no, I'd never seen him before. None of the others had either. They sat at the soda fountain and talked for a while, and, well, then they left. That was the last time I ever saw poor Mrs. Kern. The man? Well, as near as I can recall, he was of medium build. He wore a dark blue suit. Yes, I remember now. He had very dark hair. Yes, very dark hair.
Blue suit, very dark hair. What was it that anonymous note had said?
I know this man is Louis Fraser. He's about 5'10", has jet black curly hair. Wears a blue or tan gabardine suit.
Then, 2 weeks later in Long Beach, California, just a few miles away, another event takes place that finds its way into the file on Mrs. Gladys Kern. In a real estate office at 4591 Banner Street, Mrs. Jacques Landis is sitting at her desk, checking property listings when the door opens.
Hello there.
Hi. You got any houses for sale?
Should say we have. What kind of a house were you looking for?
I'm not particular. Nobody else in the office?
Not at the moment, no, but I have all the listings. If you could give me some idea of...
Does this give you some idea, lady?
That knife. What are you doing with that knife?
If you just keep your mouth shut, I ain't gonna do nothing with it. If you don't, I'll... All right, now. Let me have that purse. Quick, now.
Yes, of course. Here.
Okay. Now you just sit there and keep that mouth shut.
Yes.
You better not do anything for 5 minutes. Or I'll come back and I'm going to take care of it. So long. Thanks.
Oh, answer. Oh, please answer. Operator, get me the police. Hurry, get me the police.
Now the pattern begins to grow clearer. Another real estate woman has been threatened and robbed by a prospective home buyer carrying a hunting knife. And now there's a more detailed description. A description that fits into the same general pattern that the police have been building.
Attention all police officers. Wanted for questioning in the murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern, this man. Description follows. 23 to 26 years of age, 5 feet 7 to 10 inches tall, handsome, has black wavy hair neatly combed, eyes dark brown, close set, smooth shaven, features sharp, has Midwestern accent, may be dressed in blue gabardine slacks and a greenish blue zipper jacket or a pinstripe suit, may be driving a 1939 Chevrolet Coupe or a dark gray 1940 Dodge or Plymouth sedan. Will repeat. Wanted for questioning.
Now the police receive two more important bits of information. The first comes from Mr. William Osborne, a physicist who maintains offices in the rear of Mrs. Kern's realty office on Vermont Avenue.
At about 4 o'clock the afternoon of Saturday, February 14th, I happened to notice Mrs. Kern go into a real estate office with a man. He was in his 50s, about 6 feet tall, weighed probably 200 pounds. His hair was graying and his face was, well, I would say rather lean. He had a New York appearance in his manner and his dress. He and Mrs. Kern were talking and joking, and they left shortly after they'd come in. I'd never seen the man before, and I never saw him again.
The second bit of information, undoubtedly one of the most important clues in the entire case, came from Mrs. Peggy Ann Phillips, young married daughter of Mrs. Kern.
When I was graduated from school, my brother Jack gave me a diamond wristwatch as a present. A short time before St. Valentine's Day, my mother took her watch to a jeweler for repair, and I gave her mine to wear meanwhile. She was wearing my watch on the day on St. Valentine's Day. When the police found her, the watch was gone. Oh, excuse me, please. My baby's crying. He loved his grandmother. And I'm sure he knows he's never going to see her again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've now given you all available information as contained in the files of the Los Angeles, California Police Department regarding the unsolved murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern. On the basis of that information, the coroner's jury said,
"We find the death of Mrs. Gladys Kern to be a homicide at the hands of person or persons unknown."
Person or persons unknown? No. The killer of Mrs. Kern is not unknown. Somewhere in whatever town or city this man is hiding, some one of you has seen him today, has spoken to him, eaten lunch and dinner with him, driven in the same car that he used on the day of the murder. No, the cold-blooded killer who took Mrs. Kern's life is not a person who is unknown.
Somebody knows.
Now listen carefully, please. Listen, all of you, wherever you may be. We're going to give you a recapitulation of all the known facts in the unsolved murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern. Better make a note of them.
And remember, by following the instructions we shall give you in a moment, you may be the one to earn a $5,000 reward.
Now here are the actual facts in the case. Mrs. Gladys Kern, 42 years of age, a realtor with offices at 1307 North Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles, California, was stabbed to death with a hunting knife in a vacant home at 4217 Cromwell Avenue in that city.
The date? Saturday, St. Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1948. The time? Between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
The motive was obviously robbery. Only a few pennies were found in a rifled purse. And a diamond-studded wristwatch she'd been wearing was missing. The police have descriptions of two men whom they're seeking as suspects in this crime. Here's a description of the first man.
His age between 23 and 26. 5 feet 7 to 10 inches tall. Handsome. Wavy black hair, neatly combed. Eyes, dark brown, close set. Sharp features, smooth shaven. Has a Midwestern accent.
And please remember that this man seems to have a preference for blue or tan gabardine suits. Now here's the description of the second man seen with Mrs. Kern on the day of her death.
Age in his 50s, about 6 feet tall. Weight about 200 pounds. Hair turning gray. Face rather lean. Has what is described as a New York appearance in his manner and dress.
Now, the clue most likely to trap the man we're looking for is a diamond-studded wristwatch. Here's the description. Listen carefully, please.
The watch is a Bulova. The case is yellow gold with a two-tone overlay of platinum. On each side there are 2 or 3 diamond chips. The hands are black, spade type. The figures, Arabic on a white dial. The face opening of the watch is slightly oblong.
And most important of all, on the back of the watch is this inscription:
Peggy Ann, 6-1944.
Let me repeat that, please. On the back of the watch is inscribed the name Peggy Ann and the figures 6-1944. Ladies and gentlemen, if any of you possesses information that may have bearing on the unsolved murder of Mrs. Gladys Kern, please follow these instructions so that your name and identity need never be made known unless you wish. Now listen carefully.
Write your information on a plain sheet of paper. Do not sign your name. Instead, sign it with 6 numbers, any arrangement of any 6 numbers. Then tear off a blank corner of that paper with a ragged edge. Write the same 6 numbers on that corner and keep it. Mail the rest of the paper with the information to Somebody Knows, Hollywood, California. You need tell no one what you have done, nor will you have to appear in person.
If the information you've supplied leads to the arrest and conviction of the killer of Gladys Kern, we'll announce your signature number on this program. Then, if you don't want your name to be known, go to your lawyer or doctor, your priest, minister, or rabbi, and have him present the torn corner of the paper to any CBS station. In this way, you won't have to appear in person.
If the torn corner matches the original paper containing the information, the $5,000 reward will be yours.
Remember, you, wherever you are, you whose name need never be known, you may earn a reward of $5,000.
Next week, at the same time, we'll present another true case history of unsolved murder. Homicide file number 78654 of the St. Paul, Minnesota Police Bureau. The unsolved murder of Mary Agnes Kabiska.
You out there, you who have murdered in cold blood and think you've gotten away with it, listen. You cannot escape. There is no perfect crime. Remember, you are not unknown.
Somebody knows.
Tonight's case was written by Sidney Marshall from information in the files of the Los Angeles, California Police Department. Research was by Maurice Zim. Music was composed and played by Milton Charles. Somebody Knows is a James L. Safier production in association with CBS by arrangement with the Chicago Sun-Times and is based on a copyright owned by W.L. Finstad. It was narrated and directed by Jack Johnstone. In order to be eligible for the reward, letters containing information leading to the arrest and conviction of the killer or killers of Mrs. Gladys Kern must be postmarked not later than midnight, July 26, 1950. Arrest of the guilty person or persons must occur within 90 days of that date, and conviction must be within 1 year of tonight's broadcast. If more than one person gives the information leading to conviction, our judges will divide the $5,000 reward among them in proportion to the importance the judges attach to the facts supplied. And in this, the decision of our judges will be final. Until next Thursday at the same time, this is Frank Goss saying goodnight for
Somebody Knows.
And as far as we know, CBS never had to pay off during the entire summer series on any of these. And, they made it very clear how to do it, and it was fairly easy. July 6, 1950, Somebody Knows on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for tuning in. Would you thank this station and support their advertisers? It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. And don't forget, if you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. You can find our shows available through iHeart, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon. Search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And please, give the thing a thumbs up wherever you find our shows. Also, 5-star rating, any of that stuff, because it helps spread the show. That helps whatever ideas they have out there for suggesting shows if they see a lot of high ratings on the show. So when you do that, please. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Also at our page, classicradio.stream. You can stream the shows, learn more about classic radio collecting. Contact me. buy me a coffee if you'd like to do that. That would be greatly appreciated as well. And tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Have yourself a great Wednesday. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.